Don't cram 20 people on Zoom.
Fluorescent lighted office all day long. You probably are going to work from home.
Hello and welcome to No Office, a podcast about work, technology, and life from a remote company perspective. My name is Rafał and today Michael is on vacation, so I managed to invite to this episode our CTO, Radek Pietruszewski. Hello, Radek, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for accepting invitation. You might know Radek from the podcast FM, our former podcast that he ran with Michael for 5 years, I guess.
Yes, 2015 to 2020. It's never been officially cancelled. It's just on an unusually long hold.
Yeah, yeah, and I know there are many listeners that asked for more episodes of the podcast, but that's what I managed to negotiate with Radek to invite him today for No Office podcast. So Radek, how many donuts have you eaten already?
Well, I've had one. There's one more waiting for me, and I don't know why. There's just two, so there will be more coming. But I'll have to leave the house for that.
Yep. Yeah, I also had one, and I have 3 more waiting for me because today is our special day in Poland. It's called Fat Thursday, and we eat donuts that day. And our donuts are much better than American one, I think, because we don't have a hole inside.
Yeah, I never really understood the hole. Like, why do you take something that's perfect and then make a hole through which everything just oozes out? It's just so impractical. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't make the hole.
Don't make the hole. Yeah. All right. So today I wanted to talk with you about Kaizen stuff, about constant improvements, etc. Because you are the guy that take care that we have the constant appetite, constant effort to do it regularly, and we have many benefits from this. But let's start that. How would you describe your role in our team today in 2022? Because it's for all these years we are working together. It evolved to many different paths. And how is that today?
Yes, I've had many different jobs over the years. They just happen to be to have the paycheck coming from the same person. Right now, I'm the person responsible for all things technology in the new Nozbe app, except for the server stuff. I don't touch the server stuff. But the iOS app, the Android app, the web app, the Mac app beta, and the Windows app coming soon. That's all under my jurisdiction, and essentially my role is to make life easier for the rest of the team building the app. So I make the infrastructure, so the tooling. I prove out technologies that we use, set up guidelines, try out new things, make prototypes. I built a couple of open source frameworks that we use to build Nozbe and make it available on all the platforms and be fast and whatnot. I work on sync. And aside from that, I do Kaizen, which we'll talk about, and I do performance. So I'm working on making the app fast. So essentially, I think of myself as the person sort of on the side, helping out others actually build the features that people use. So most of my work is not visible directly for the users, but it underpins the great work of others.
Yeah, like I think I would describe your role that you make sure that others in the team can build feature fast and without any issues.
Yeah.
So that's you're kind of a catalyst or facilitator. Okay.
maybe not just don't use the word catalyst. That just,
Catalyst, you don't know. You don't have positive connotation with that word.
exactly.
Okay. So you said performance. So let's deep dive into performance aspect of your work. So because you are obsessed with the performance of our app, of our sync, of the start time of the app, and every couple of weeks I see in our Nozbe that you announce that here's another batch of performance improvements. Now the app should start faster, the sync is faster, the first login is faster, etc. But besides of the app, what else? Because like performance of app itself, it's not only performance you are optimizing.
So making software fast is a slow process, slow and tedious and frustrating.
Nice.
Which is funny. But the thing is, there's a couple of constants in software development. One of them is that software tends to get slow over time. It tends to get bloated as features are added, as years pass by. There's just more and more junk, and also from kind of the internal perspective, the quality of the code base, like the stuff that people work with, just tends to deteriorate, which makes it harder and harder to work on the app, to improve it, to make it faster. It's sort of entropy, it's kind of law of the universe. It happens over time, and you have to actively fight against it.
So it's the same thing as spaghetti code?
Well, if you don't do anything about it and let entropy do its thing, then eventually you end up with something that people would call spaghetti code, which is like all things tangled together, like impossible to disentangle and change into anything else. So this is sort of something that happens naturally, and the thing is, it happens slowly, it happens over time, and it's very difficult in companies and in teams to assign time and effort and money into making that better, into making the app a little bit faster, making the code base a little bit less bloated, cleaning things up, removing features. Like, no one wants to do that because it doesn't bring immediate obvious effect, and it takes a lot of time. But what happens if you don't do it is that eventually, a couple of years in, you sort of have to declare bankruptcy. Like, it's just very difficult to do something with it if you don't work on it constantly over time. So those are things that I spend a lot of my time working on, because those are hard to appreciate at first, but it is a feature over time. It doesn't sell to say, hey, the app is not slow, it's pretty fast actually. It just doesn't sell the app. But over time, if you don't do anything and the app just grows slower and slower and slower, people don't want to use it. Customers are unhappy. There's some other app with teams in the name that people seem to be really not like, because it's bloated and slow and so
and adding
examples.
New features and fixes are much harder to add, because when code is bloated, and when you add a new feature, you produce 5 other bugs in different areas of the app.
Yeah. So as for performance, I just think of speed of the app as a feature, and not very well appreciated one, but one that needs to be worked on to just fight the nature,
But still, you managed sometimes by doing a performance work, you deep dive into the code, to the lower layers of the code. I bet you sometimes see some low-hanging fruits, that some features you can implement or improve. Like, for example, you implemented bulk edit mode very quickly, that we thought that would take much more time to implement. Recently, you improved a lot our jump to, that it's much performant, and on top of that, you add some features to that.
Yeah, I rarely work on like features, like user visible things in the app anymore. And when I do, it's usually out of frustration. Like, I hate this. Why doesn't it work the way I want it to work? And so I just fix it for myself. That's what happened with Jump 2 and with bulk edit. What's also important to appreciate is that these things, they are hard initially and then they become doable. So we'll talk about Kaizen in more depth, but essentially, as you unload the app, as you work on it, as you look at all the nooks and crannies of the code base, you see certain problems, things that could be simplified, improved, things that are duplicated, and there's like 3 different modules of ways of doing something. Like, why did that happen? Why can't we have just one? And you start disentangling it, pulling by the yarn, and at first you don't see any result. You're just making yourself feel better that you've improved something, but you can't see the result. But as you pull on these threads and improve things, then suddenly something that was just so tangled up with many problems and hard to change and improve suddenly becomes easy. So with bulk edit, this is like the Nozbe app. It's a list of tasks. Like, it's a big, complicated chunk of infrastructure. The list of tasks. Much more complicated than it looks. And so, as we add new feature, there's bloat, and then as you unbloat it, like suddenly, hey, adding bulk edit, that's not so hard anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, that's your work. Like, I can now really appreciate. Because like last year we shipped 46 updates to Nozbe. Then it was Nozbe Teams. Now it's new Nozbe, and that's pretty amazing comparing to all of these years we were developing Nozbe Personal. Even like we were shipping, I don't know, like 1 update per 2 months in Nozbe Personal in our high peak times.
Yeah, this is a completely different. It's a huge change in mindset, and it's a big change in tooling and infrastructure. So, in the old days, and what we did before was kind of the old days mentality, was that every release is polished, every release is like it's something you start, add features that you decide you need to add, and then you polish it, bug fix, test, and then you release it. And it's a marketing release, and these days, like the app has to be stable and polished at all times. And we do things and we add things, and most of them are invisible for weeks or months. But every release is stable, and none of the releases are marketing releases. We just add things all the time. We ship every week, no matter what. Unless something is like really blowing up.
Yeah.
And then when we're ready to actually show something to the users, that when that feature is ready, not the release, the feature is ready, then we flip the switch, enable it, people see it. Hopefully customers are happy. But it happens when we're ready, not because, hey, this is a 3.2.1.2137 release. No one cares. You just want to use the app and get your stuff done, get your life organized, make your team more productive. Like, you don't care about marketing releases. So, but this way, when you have all the tooling automated, when you dog food the app all the time, it's always constantly being tested by machines and by us. Then there's no reason not to release. And so, yes, there's a slightly higher chance that we release some bug this week because we ship this week. But the upside is that if we mess something up, people see much earlier, much more quickly. Like, every release is a smaller chunk of changes. So whatever happens is just a small chunk of change. And we don't change the fundamental things every week, but we add some new feature. Not yet fully our full idea for this feature, but it already works. People use it, give us feedback, we improve it. Next week, it's already a bit better. So, yeah.
Yeah, and plus we don't worry about even shipping bugs, because when we ship some bugs and they are not critical, like
Yeah.
we know we will have a release next week, so we can fix that very quickly. Yeah, and yeah, we are almost releasing that in this process for almost 2 years now, and I think we only had to do like hotfix release in the same week like 1 or 2 times. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good result.
Yeah, this is software. This is computers. It's not perfect. It's never perfect. It has bugs, unfortunately, and we can't avoid it. We do our best, but we can't avoid it. But it's sometimes better to ship just small, not that important bugs every week than a huge chunk of like new features and improvements. And it turns out it's just completely broken for people and customers not happy.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to Kaizen. So every Monday, you and one front-end developer that is currently on our HEM, which is Horizon Expanding Month. We'll talk about it a little bit not earlier. I guess later. So every Monday, you and one front-end developer that is currently on HEM, which is Horizon Expanding Month. We will talk about it later. You have a Kaizen event. It's some kind of pair programming, or what's that about?
No, it's not pair programming. So Kaizen, this is. Okay, let's back up. This is an inspiration, one of many inspirations that I've introduced to Nozbe from lean manufacturing. It's kind of this philosophy that's been taking hold in manufacturing world, starting with Toyota and Japanese companies thinking about a better way of running companies in manufacturing, and some of these lessons are applicable. So one of these ideas is Kaizen. Kaizen means continuous improvement, and the idea here is that you don't. It's actually kind of similar to us shipping every week. So you don't make these huge projects to, I don't know, introduce a new production technology or whatever, or just ignore things and just let things run and there's some problems, but whatever. No, you have to continuously improve to stay at the cutting edge, to be the best company, the best technology company you can be. You have to be on the cutting edge, and so you have to constantly look for problems, and not quality problems, like problems that customers are going to see, but improvements to the process of manufacturing. In our case, manufacturing code. And so every week we meet up, we have our list of ideas of things we can improve in the code base. And it's a little hard to explain to non-programmers, but we just notice things that are kind of hard to do, take a little bit more time than they should, or things that we do all the time. So in the app, we have a lot of menus. We have a lot of, text inputs. There's certain elements that repeat over and over and over and over again. So we want to make them easier, like easier to use, faster to apply, to build a new feature using some sort of element. There's Pokayoke. Pokayoke means foolproofing. So we notice where we make mistakes and try to find a pattern in those mistakes. And then we foolproof it. So we add a Pokayoke to make doing the wrong thing more difficult. So for example, the app is translated into, 6, 7, 8 languages. And so whenever in the app there's some text that's translated, we refer to this text by its identifier. And it happened in the past that someone made a typo in that identifier, or the name of that, the key of that text has changed. And then we shipped the app with instead of, I don't know, it's saying single tasks, translated into German, it would say, I don't know, underscore single underscore tasks string, whatever, right? So, hey, we can change that. So we added a little bit of, technology magic so that when you enter the wrong key, it just highlights in the editor as red, like, hey, this key does not exist. This is just one example of thousands. Like literally every week we notice something else that we could make a little bit easier to do, a little bit faster to do, a little bit harder to mess up, or something that, hey, there's some duplication. Hey, there's some old stuff that we need to clean up, some stuff like internal stuff to remove, stuff like that. And so by doing this continuous improvement, every week the end result, like the user does not see it, and we notice it only a little bit. But like imagine you improve your productivity as a team member by, I don't know, 1% every week. No, that's actually, when you think about it, 1% a week turns out to be pretty outrageous. So it's probably less than that, but 1% a week. Now, take 1.01 and raise it to the 52 power, so 52 weeks in a year, and it turns out that your productivity has skyrocketed, right?
Yeah, and multiply per team members, because the most improvements you made are applicable for everyone in a team, like at least for developers.
Yeah, so by making small changes, but continuously noticing problems and fixing them, thinking about how we can make this better instead of pretending that they don't exist, like, it's not a big deal. Every week, over and over and over again, you just make the productivity of our team, the quality of the work that we produce for the customers better and better. And it's a tiny bit every week. And yeah, by changing things, sometimes we break things a little bit, but it's so much worth it. And I think you can see it, being internally, but not a developer, how we just, with the same number of people, we just become faster and faster and faster, pushing out new features, faster and better and with higher quality from the start.
Yeah, like I can totally see it. Like as I said, we shipped 46 updates last year, and I'm still surprised how fast we can develop some basic some base for the feature that actually already adds value, and we use it, and oftentimes we decide to ship it in that form. It's often like 1 week appetite time for a developer to develop it. And thanks to those constant improvements, to those Kaizen events, we maintain our speed, our performance of developing features.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's take a break here and thank our sponsors this week, which is, of course, us, yes, Nozbe. Nozbe. So Nozbe is task-based asynchronous communication app for personal, family, and business use. So let's hear what our customers actually say about the product.
When we've been around for about 10 years, our business has, and we've been using Nozbe for about 8 of those years. And as we grew, we kind of got to the point where I just couldn't remember everything anymore. I'm pretty organized. I would just kind of keep everything in my head and with Post-it notes and things like that. And it just got to be too much. And so I started looking around for some sort of project management software that could help me set up really a trusted system. But really, I just wanted a system where I could know that I had everything in there. I wasn't going to forget anything. I wasn't going to drop any balls for our clients or miss deadlines.
All right, and we are back, and let's go back to talk about Kaizen improvements. And you spoke about like dev tools, the tools we developers using for producing a code, for writing a code. But we also, I also remember that recently we improved a lot our build server.
Yes. So this is one of the myriad of little technology pieces that that are not user visible technologies, customer visible
Well,
technologies.
actually, I can make it visible as a podcast chapter art and display it on the video version.
Yeah. Wow, that's ugly. I'm ashamed of myself.
Well, it's not a UI that customer sees.
True. Anyway, long story short, we build out a lot of code. We have a small but very active team, and after every change, which we make a lot, you want to run automatic tests on the code base and make builds. So with tests, there's like 5 different tools that we run on the entire code base to check for any errors that can be caught automatically without human interaction. And for builds, we have the web app, the Mac app, the Windows app, coming soon, the Android app, and the iOS app. That's 5 apps. And it takes a lot of time to build. Actually, not that much time, because one of the Kaizen event actions and my own time was spent on just making these automatic tools and the builds faster and faster and faster. And then we have Apple come out with new computers which are faster and faster and faster. So again, in the old days, you'd make a smaller number of larger changes, larger commits in the tech lingo, just because what you have to do afterwards was just painful and slow. And the idea here is we want to be nimble and very, very fast and make lots of tiny changes, changes that are easy to review, to test, to just ship to the users. And so we need the process of automatic testing and build making to be very, very fast. So that's what CI/CD means. That's automatic testing and making builds. And we have our own server for that because it turns out it's less painful and cheaper to just have your own computer do that. And because we make iOS apps, we need to make our builds on a Mac, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. So we got the fastest Mac Mini money could buy, and just put it on a shelf with a fast SSD, stuck it in a server room at our friends at the Warsaw Hackerspace, hackerspace.pl. We have a nice server room. Our server sits there, and every single time someone pushes a tiniest change to the code of the new Nozbe, within 4 minutes and 30 seconds, there's 5 apps to download and test, and all the automatic checks are either passed or failed.
Yeah, but it's like every change on every branch, or only on those branches that have open PRs?
Have open PRs, yeah.
Yeah, so pull requests, yes.
Yeah.
And I can see that's pretty fast. And already today, I think we have like, as I can see on what output of our build server, we already have 3 versions. Whoa, someone built it on 2 a.m. today, tonight actually.
Yeah, occasionally someone does that. I don't know why. Not me.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, you respect your sleep.
I do.
All right, so that's CI. Is there some else a bigger area that you constantly improve besides those dev tools and CI and the app code?
Yeah, I think we talked about the majority of what I've been working on over the past year or two. So it is the improvements of the code base and then performance. And performance is sometimes it's like stacking a bunch of 5-10% improvements, which is like doesn't sound like much, but you have 5 or 10% improvements, and then suddenly everything is so much faster. And sometimes some new technology that we can easily use becomes available. So we recently shipped something that's called Hermes on our iOS app, and that made it 3 times faster to launch on iPhones and iPads, and twice as fast to like move between like views in the app. And it was just a few days of work. Like it's just something that became available and I could use it, and bam, 3 times faster. Just a gigantic difference.
Yeah, and
it's
like
it's so fast. It's so fast that iOS doesn't even finish animating, and the app is already launched. And all these iOS native apps, they're not even that fast.
Yeah, and what was really nice and actually surprised for me, like it would be even more surprise for me like 2 years ago, but now after like releasing app every week, I see that like there's new piece of technology like external framework of like this Hermes.
Mm-hmm.
We include it in our code base, yes, and nothing blew up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was strange. Yeah, it just worked.
Yeah, part of that is external technology getting better and better. Part of that is our tooling getting better and better. Part of that is just our skills getting improved. But yes, in this case, I made the changes. Camille and me just tested it ourselves for a week. Just used the app with this changed, and then we all use it internally for a week, and then we shipped it, and nothing blew up.
Yeah,
Oh,
like I can
actually-
imagine a customer right now, iOS app is crashing because
Yeah,
karma.
my favorite. Yeah, that's true. My favorite thing was that the only error that Camille, our QA person, found was that his plan, his Nozbe personal team, was valid until the year 2100, and it didn't say 2100, but 2099.
Oh no.
Right?
Yeah. So we stole a 1 year of premium account from him.
Exactly. That was the one issue.
Yeah, that's the critical issue. But we fixed that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk Hem, because as I mentioned, every week you meet with the developer that is currently on Hem.
Yeah.
Which is Horizon Expanding Month. Yeah, what's that about? What is the purpose of this? Because this is like we have 3 front-end developers, not counting you.
I'm a 3.5. We can say
3.5. Yeah, okay. You can be a half of a front-end developer. Yeah. Yeah, and 2 of them are assigned to projects within a cycle to implement features usually.
Yeah.
And one of them is always on this Hem, and like 50% in theory, 50% of his time he's supposed to spend on expanding his area of responsibility within the app.
Yeah.
And the rest, like on Kaizen events or implementing small improvements that actually can be done within 1 day, or fixing like major bugs and reply to support tickets.
Okay. First of all, if I remember correctly, I came up with the Horizon Expanding Month name, and it was supposed to be a joke. It was supposed to be making fun of corporate newspeak, but it stuck by accident. But we just call it Hem. Like when you expand when you expand Hem, it just gross name. I don't like it. Anyway, yes. So the idea was that it's great and all to build features and ship them to our customers, and customers are happy when you see new features. The problem is that features is all that customers see. Like it's what they say they want most of the time. But the problem is that there's many different things around the process of building software that are not directly visible to our customers, but if you neglect them, things deteriorate over time, and we talked about this already. So, for example, we found it somewhat difficult to plan bug fixing. So sometimes there's just bugs in the app, and bugs can be a lot of things. Sometimes they're like, some of them are minor, some of them are major. But even the minor bugs, if something is just misaligned and just looks ugly, but is in some place deep down that almost no one ever sees, then that's one thing. And then you can call the bug minor, but you see it every day and it's really annoying. So what that means is that over time, the list of bugs, the stuff we could possibly fix, just grows very large, even though the app is mostly fine. Like, yes, there's a couple of things to fix, but it's mostly fine. And yet there's a long list of bugs. And you have to decide which of them to fix. It's often not easy before you start working on it to decide how easy it is to fix. Sometimes a major bug will take 15 minutes to fix once you get around to it. Sometimes a minor thing that you can just ignore and no one will notice would take hours or days of work. And that's part of the reason why it's kind of difficult to assign developers to work on fixing bugs. So improving quality in that way by removing errors, imperfections. It's just hard to schedule. It's hard to pick what to work on. So that's one of the reasons why we thought, okay, we need to do that. Like, we need to spend some time working on that. It can't be the only thing, because we could just be fixing and people wouldn't see that it's getting better. So we need to be fixing things. Then there's technological aspects, like the team members, they have to be growing. They have to be improving and learning new things. It can't be me building all the infrastructure. Yeah, I'm in charge of all the infrastructure, but there are certain areas that, I have to delegate. So each team member has some extra responsibility that's like purely in terms of technology. But it takes time to learn and improve, and the learning and improving and experimenting with things in that technological area, like, it's not something you can easily schedule. You can't say, oh, you work for 2 weeks on that to build X. Like, it's kind of an open-ended endeavor, right? It takes time, that, but you can't, like with features, say we're gonna work on a week on that feature, and whatever comes of it, we ship. Yep. Hence, right? We rotate between the team members, and so that everyone has time, like dedicated time, to improve their skills in that area, experiment with new things, do bug fixing. The person on Hem has plays a larger role doing code reviews. Everyone does code reviews, but the person on Hem has slightly more time that can be like easier to find to do reviews. And then Kaizen. Yeah, it's me, but there's not enough of me to do all of that. And also, this is a thing about culture, right? It's not just about spending time to continuously improve. People need months to start changing their mindset and start noticing the things that can be improved, instead of doing things the way we've been doing them for years. So it's important that these sort of extra responsibilities, that everyone does some of that. And the reason why it rotates is because it's kind of hard to be like, hey, you have an appetite of 1 week to work on that feature. But then also, hey, you can't be focused 100% on that task, like that specific and time-bound task, because also, do the code reviews, check out this bug to fix, and hey, are you coming to Kaizen today, right? It's just hard to be it's hard to simultaneously be in the mindset, in the mode of mind of focused, like task-based work. This is the task and this is the time frame, and in the mindset of like open-ended improvements and learning and exploration and stuff like that. It's just like two different types of work, types of mental activity, you know. Hence, it is easier to rotate that between every team member than have people split their days or their weeks between these responsibilities.
Yeah, and that's really healthy too, because we have 3 front-end developers, as I mentioned, and we work in 5-week
3.5.
cycles. So it's 3.5. Yeah, we work in 5-week cycles, which is almost a month. So that's why it's horizon expanding month. So each developer has 1 hem per 3 months. Yeah, so I think that's the healthy balance. And also, you mentioned that it takes months to change habits, to teach our developers better habits, to figure out places that can be improved. And I can see that in my work. Like when I remember how we used to develop Nozbe Personal, I was so much needed to giving feedback to developers every day.
Yeah.
And now I'm just needed in the week when we plan the cycle, actually, and a day after in the next week when we do kickoff meetings. And after that, the developers are leaders of the project, and they really make great decisions, not only like from the technical point of view, but they grow in sense of design decisions also. Like, and I'm really glad how the whole process works right now.
I think I lied. I think it's like years, not months. I'm really proud of our team and how far we've come with this. Like, it is very easy to create in companies these bottlenecks, these decision bottlenecks, where people are just waiting on a designer or a manager to decide on something. And it doesn't just slow things down, but it just creates worse outcomes, because you're a person doing the work. It might be development, but it can be any industry, right? Any job. You're doing the work. You're spending weeks just being immersed in it, understanding the problem, how to solve it, possible approaches. And then you're waiting for that one guy who spent hours and not weeks working on it. And they might not have the full picture. Yeah, they might be specialized in design or management. They know things, they're experienced in things you're not. That's true. But as the person doing the work, you tend to have the broadest picture of, hey, okay, I could do this and it would be a good result, but it would take me 1 week to get this done. Or I could do this and it's almost as good, but I can get it done in an hour, right? And when you have these decision bottlenecks with these extra decision makers, it again slows things down and creates worse outcomes, because it's hard to compress your weeks of experience working on something into something you can quickly express to a decision maker to approve or disapprove. So, but at the same time, just people are really not used to leading and making their own decisions in organization. People are employed and they see, okay, I need to know my place. You know how companies, organizations, institutions are like. People are very territorial. People are about hierarchy. So people are not used to leading, making decisions. They might have experiences that when they tried didn't end up well for them. So it really takes a lot of effort to not just empower people by saying, hey, you can do it and you should do it and you're the best person to make that decision, but to actually convince someone and show them and give them the opportunity to have experience with making these decisions, to show them that you can do it. So I feel like we've talked about like these sorts of ideas for years, and it took us years to somehow something changed and it kind of clicked. And like we made some process changes, talked to people, explained it to them, explained it over and over and over again until they got it. And they just run with things. And I don't need to be bothered all the time. You don't need to be bothered all the time. Michael certainly doesn't need to be bothered all the time with just minutia of building a new feature. It's fine. The developer can get this done.
Exactly. And even if they initially when we started to encourage them to make their own decisions, even in short time, their first decisions weren't good.
Yeah.
But it's a long-term investment. They learn how to make better decisions. And yesterday, when we had a kickoff meetings about calendar improvements, we want to improve our calendar view in the app. And actually, the people want to have easier access to calendar. So the obvious thing is to add a possibility to have calendar in favorites. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But for some technical reasons, because task list is a very complicated form of living in the code, so it's not that easy. But actually, Michu, who is the leader of this project, just made an idea. Okay, what if we do X? It will take 15 minutes, and it might have a high chance to actually do the job. And that is exactly what we want. Developers make good decisions. They are not afraid to experiment and see if even, let's see if something that takes 15 minutes, 1 hour can do the job instead of doing something that can take 1 week, as you said.
Yeah. I'm as I'm listening to ourselves talking about these different ideas, I think it's important to say that they're not exactly completely independent ideas. They form a coherent whole. Like it's a different, I hate to use this word because it's overused in corporate newspeak, but it's a different paradigm of organizing our work. It's a different paradigm of building software. It's like I mentioned lean manufacturing. Toyota has been doing that for decades and they're doing fine. And people are having a hard time copying them because you can take, a la carte different ideas from it and they help, they're interesting. But when you have the whole, it really starts to make the most sense. So here, notice how it plays together with us shipping every week. Like those are not two disparate ideas. They form a coherent idea of how you want to work. A developer makes their own decisions, and we ship cheapo in small chunks. We don't design and build the best version of a feature that we can come up with because that takes a disproportionate amount of time. So some decisions might not be the best at first, or like we stumble, but okay, we've spent a week working on that feature and that's it for now, and it's already better. And this decision that was bad, we shouldn't have done it this way, but guess what, it's fine. It's not like someone made some decision and that got us into a 6-month project and at the end of it we ship. Like, no, we've worked on something and sometimes it's great, sometimes it's fine, sometimes it's but we ship every week and we'll get to it again. So this idea of him and developers being leaders of these feature projects that plays together with Kaizen, it plays together with us shipping every week.
But the funny thing is that Kamil, our QA person. He was always like to test everything before shipping, etc. And now he is the person responsible for driving our shipping process every week. Actually, yeah. So so he actually shipped 46 updates last year. All right, I think we can slowly wrap up this episode. So Radek, tell me, because as we said, your role in our company in building current Nozbe, our main product right now, evolved through all of these years. So you had a big impact on design, how Nozbe works, and now you had a huge impact on the whole technology stack and our dev tools and how code base is organized, etc., etc. So this Nozbe is really, you can say it's your child, but what's your favorite feature of Nozbe?
Well, you're not supposed to have favorites.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't think I have one favorite feature, but something that I really care about deeply is these little power user improvements. So not things that every customer is using, but something I'm using because I use the new Nozbe every day for the last 4 years, right? Well, since its inception, pretty much. And so I love the keyboard shortcuts, and there's more keyboard shortcuts coming. And the new Jump to, which I think will ship next Monday, or we've already shipped? I don't know.
Yeah, it's already shipped, actually. The one thing we didn't ship is highlighting.
Okay.
Highlighting for search and fuzzy search.
Yeah, so I recently made some improvements to the Jump to feature, which makes it so fast and so fun to just go to different places in the app. I don't have to click around, look for tasks. If I remember the name and I just hit Command K and I type in like 2 or 3 or 4 characters, not just the full name, but a few characters that match, that's called fuzzy search. And we have this highlighting that will ship, I think, next Monday. That kind of shows why the search results show up, and it's very fast now. And so, within 2 seconds, I can go between tasks and projects and just places in the app without moving my hands off of the keyboard. And it's glorious.
Yeah, I really like that too. And I started to using even more after your recent performance improvements. And I would say now it's my second favorite after after incoming, because incoming is just a magic. All right, so I think that's it for this week. Radek, tell me, what day is tomorrow?
Tomorrow is a MightyFriday.
Exactly, MightyFriday. So do your weekly review, plan priorities for next week, and learn something new to have a great weekend. We actually recently launched a new website about our MightyFridays, so you can check it out on nozbe.com/Friday. And if you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to help support this podcast either by sharing it with a friend, leaving us a nice review in Apple Podcasts, or by just signing up for our Nozbe app. That's it for today. Say goodbye, Radek.
Bye.
This episode has not been created in the office, because in Nozbe there is no office. Your hosts were Rafał Sobolewski and Radosław Pietruszewski. All the links and show notes you can find on nooffice.fm/36. The whole production process of this episode has been coordinated in a project in Nozbe app. Control is good, but trust and transparency are so much better. Thank you, and see you in 2 weeks. Remember to have a mighty Friday.
Don't cram 20 people on Zoom.
Fluorescent lighted office all day long. You probably are going to work from home.